welcome back to my channel. This video is gonna be my video, my two palettes that I picked up from Hourglass. These are, one is the Jellyfish. I actually picked up Color Story number 1 with this one, so I didn't make any changes to it. And then I also picked up the Leopard Packaging Ambient Lighting Palette, but I did make changes, so I do have Color Story number 3 on the inside. I know there's been so many videos, but I do want to share my thoughts about it. I do want to compare them to the one that I do have from Hourglass. It's a few years back. I haven't ordered in the past couple years from Hourglass, and this is the Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked. This was one of my favorites from them, and I really wanted to have it. So in case you have this one and you want to see how similar or not similar these new color stories are, please keep on watching. If you find this video helpful while you're watching it or you enjoy it, please consider giving me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And now let's go ahead and get into it. I know there's been hundreds of videos. I've consumed so many videos about these Hourglass ambient lighting palettes for this year. But again, I still wanted to do my own video. I still wanted to share my thoughts with you guys and tell you what I picked up. So here we are. One thing that they had this year, they had 4 different packaging. So they had the Jellyfish, the Snake, the Leopard, and the Owl. And then they had 3 different color stories. They had color story 1, 2, 3. If you were to order these palettes directly from Hourglass, you could have the option of customizing your inside. So you can pick up your outer packaging, you can pick up the inside, and you go on your merry way, you have your perfect palette. But if you were to wait until Sephora or Ulta have them in stock, you're just gonna get whatever color story was assigned to these palettes originally. So the Jellyfish had color story number 1, the Leopard had color story number 2, and then the Snake had color story number 3. With the Owl not having a color story, you would have to get it from Hourglass themselves. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my Jellyfish palette, which is actually the normal Jellyfish because it's color story number 1. I do want to show you the products that are in here, and we'll talk about what these shades are and whether or not, oh my God, I can't see. I'm getting so old, you guys. So here it is. It does look very light. I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely for a fair, light skin tone. Hourglass, even though they've been doing a little bit deeper, they're not deep enough. So we'll just keep that in mind. And that's not gonna be the topic of today's video. Today's video is all about the makeup, not the brand, what they're missing or not missing. So here we are. I'll start telling you what the shades are, starting with this one. This is the, oh my goodness, this is impossible to see. Okay. The first shade over here is their usual finishing powder. This is in the shade Diffused Light. The one right next to it is blush Rose Fusion. Over here we have a metallic strobing powder. This is the shade Opal Strobe Light. Go down here, we've got Bronze Lunar Bronze. This one is a blush and the shade is Diffused Heat. And then the last one over here is also a finishing powder, and this is in the shade Ethereal Light. I don't remember being too many newer shades in this palette. I think 2 or 3 of them were newer shades, but everything else had already existed in their line. I do not have Diffused Light, or this is Diffused Light. So I don't have Diffused Light in my collection. I don't have a strobe highlighter like this. Or this blush in the middle. I don't have those in my collection. I do have Diffused Heat, the blush, but I do actually really enjoy it. So I don't mind having another one in this palette. And if I want to get rid of my other one, I can. Not that I'm going to, but here she is. We will go ahead and do swatches of all of these shades. All right, so let's go ahead and do swatches. I'm first gonna start with the shade Diffused Light. Light. All right, the second shade over here is a blush, and that is the shade Rose Fusion. So there's Rose Fusion. Next to it is the what is it? The metallic strobe powder, and that shade is called Opal Strobe Light. Opal Strobe Light is over here. Next up, going down to the second row down, the first shade is a bronzer, and this is in the shade Lunar Bronze. Bronze. Right next to it, in the middle, is the blush in the shade Diffused Heat. I do really like this blush, but definitely for lighter skin tones. And then lastly, the last shade over here is another finishing powder, and this is in the shade Ethereal Light. I do not own Ethereal Light, Diffuse Light, Dim Light. I don't own any of those. The only ones that I do have in my collection is Luminous Light, and I love it. So here is the Jellyfish palette according to Color Story 1. So if you were to order this by itself, you don't customize it, this is what it's gonna come with. Pretty light, we can tell. Light. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the other palette, which is the Leopard palette. This one I did customize, so I did select what I really wanted in here. And I chose the Color Story number 3, which was for the snake originally. And this to me seemed the deepest and the one that had the most new colors or shades to hourglass lines. So here she is. Let's talk about this one. I'm gonna swatch it on this arm, but let me try my best to tell you what each shade name is. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this one. So this is a finishing powder in the shade Radiant Light. Next up is a blush and the shade is Coral Haze. Right next to it is a metallic strobe powder and the shade is Infinite Strobe Light. Moving down to here, this is a blush and the shade is Sunbeam. Over here, we have another blush in the shade Mystic Flush. And lastly, it's a bronzer in the shade Solar Bronze. So what you notice different about this one, it has one finishing powder, 3 blushes, where the Jellyfish one had 2 blushes, 2 finishing powders, a bronzer, and a highlight. So we're getting rid of one of their finishing powders and we're getting blush in its place. I'm extremely happy with that. I don't mind that one bit. I'm gonna go ahead and do swatches of it the same sort of way. I'm gonna start with the finishing powder, work my way down, and then we'll compare the 2 arms. Hopefully you can see them well. Okay, so we're gonna get started with the finishing powder that's in this palette, and it's called a Radiant Light. So there's Radiant Light. Can we see it? I guess we can. So where is it? Here it is. There's Radiant Light. Right next to Radiant Light, we have blush, and that's in the shade Coral Haze. Sorry, I'm like very blind. So it makes it really hard to see those tiny, tiny names on the back. The third one over here is the Strobe Light, and that's in the shade Infinite Strobe Light. That is really pretty. I think this would definitely be a good palette for someone with medium, slightly deeper skin tone. Moving on to this. Wait, no, let's move on. Move on over here. The second blush in the palette, and this is in the shade Sunbeam. This looks so pretty. Look at that blush. Oh my goodness. Next to it is one more blush, and this is in the shade Mystic Blush or Mystic Flush. I'm so not prepared for this, you guys. It's been a long time since I sat down and really filmed. I feel like, oh, what the heck. And then lastly is the bronzer, and this is in the shade Solar Bronze. Let me go ahead and swatch this baby up. And here it is. So this is definitely targeted for someone with a little bit deeper skin tone. It's not as deep as, you know, we need in the market currently, but again, we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna just talk about those 2 palettes and comparing them. So here's the Jellyfish Color Story number 1, and here's my Leopard Color Story number 3. Okay, hope that was visible enough. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my comparison palette. I'm actually gonna compare it on the same arm as the Jellyfish because I feel like it's another lighter palette, and that's the only palette I have from them. I did not pick up the ones from last year. I did not pick up the Ghost palettes either. So here we go. This one again is the Ambient Lighting Unlocked, and see, now the names on here are flipped, where over here I was able to read them like this. Now I'll have to do like this. make it even more uncomfortable for me. Why don't I go ahead and swatch all 6 of them, and then I'll tell you what the shades are, and you know, we'll talk about those. Okay, so here she is. Again, I feel like this is a lighter palette. So if you were on the lighter skin tone, you might have picked this baby up and you're curious, how does it compare to the new one? I'm here to tell you, it's it's pretty much as light. The first shade up here is one of the, okay, let me pull this up. The first shade up here is the shade Soft Light, and it is a finishing powder. Right below it is another finishing powder, and that's in the shade Filtered Light. Over here, we've got a bronzer, and that was the bronzer in the shade Golden Bronze Light. Right below it is a blush in the shade Nude Glow. Below it is Mood Flush. And right down here, the strobing highlighter is in the shade Champagne Strobe Light. So again, 2 finishing powders, 2 blushes, a highlight, and a bronzer. Same thing as the Jellyfish. So if you really want to expand your collection, if you want to try out some new shades from Hourglass, I would stay away from the Jellyfish. Sure, it's beautiful. The packaging itself is gorgeous, but can't beat it. I really cannot beat it. I absolutely had to have the leopard. One of my favorite colors, one of my favorite prints. I have like 590s, the same print, black leopard. I had to have it. I just did not like the color story that it originally came with, so I was really happy to customize it and get the deeper one, or one of the deepest one that they released this year. So I'm really happy with that, and I have 3 blushes. I can't complain. I love that. Anyway, these are my comparisons. This is Ambient Lighting Jellyfish, Ambient Lighting Unlocked, a couple of years back. And then we've got Color Story number 3, which is the ambient lighting, and whatever you choose your packaging. For me was a leopard. I hope this comparison was a little bit helpful. I know there's been so many videos about these palettes, but they're kind of like the hot thing currently in makeup, and I did not want to miss my chance of telling you what I picked up and share my thoughts about it. So far, I'm pretty happy. I think I'm the most happy with this one. I'm really happy that there's quite a color payoff, like definite color payoff over here. This was targeted to like somebody with a little bit deeper skin tone. Not the most deep skin tone gonna enjoy it, but again, could be, maybe, I'm not sure. Probably not, if I'm being completely honest. But anyways, I'm really happy with the products I picked up. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments below. Did you pick up any of these? Are you interested at all? Do you have Hourglass palettes, or do you just boycott? Or do you just boycott Hourglass? Let me know in the comments below. I hope we don't stir up some drama. That's not what we're about over here. We're just about pretty makeup. So thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.